All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Jared Kingston. I am a co-host of MVP Office Hours and a solution architect at Aperio and Salesforce MVP. I'm joined today by one of my other co-hosts, Dale Ziegler. Dale, if you want to say hi.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
And then, unfortunately today we're missing Jackie Trevioso, or otherwise known as Jackie Force, who's taking some time off today. So we hope she's getting some relaxation in. So real quick, as we start off the office hours, we always like to cover some events that are coming up or happening that you want to that you should have on your radar. So Trailhead DX, or is it pronounced Trailhead DX, is coming up June 28th through the 29th. So definitely check that out. Forcelandia out in Portland is in August, beginning of August. August is packed with three great events: Forcelandia, Midwest Dream, and Witness Success, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the first or the inaugural one, which it sounds like it's going to be a great time right after Midwest Dream in there.
And then actually, Jared, if I could throw in on the front of that Chicago week is the Nonprofit Success Pack Sprint that Tuesday and Wednesday, also in Chicago, right before Midwest Dreamin'. So the nonprofits can make a full week of it too. Yeah,
just spend the whole week in Chicago. Love it. That's awesome. And then obviously, Dreamforce is not that far away. In beginning of November. So, and then lots of world tours going on. I know Boston, I think, is maybe the next one coming up just in 2 weeks. I'll be out at that one, so looking forward to seeing a lot of people out there.
In Chicago, mid-June.
Yeah, in Chicago's mid-June. I forget what else was after that. But definitely check out those world tours. All right, so let's jump to the next slide here. Just to kind of open things up, if this is your first time, just an introduction to MVP Office Hours. We do this every first and third Friday of each month. It's really an open Q&A discussion, so don't be shy. We'll definitely feel free to speak up, raise your hand in the chat. And we'll definitely get to you. One of the things we ask is just that you mute yourself so that we can easily hear everybody's questions and answers, and that you announce yourself as well, right? So it's not like we're speaking to the man or woman behind the curtain. And everyone's welcome to share experiences, right? We have a special guest on today with a lot of expertise, but if you feel like you have something to offer in this area, that's what the community is all about. So please definitely speak up and add that in. And we'll keep a tally of things as we go around resources and pointers and recommendations, and we'll post those out to our group on the community after the webinar. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce you to our special guest today. Our special guest today is Jen Nelson, who is not only a Salesforce MVP, but a longtime Salesforce consultant, user, aficionado, you name it, right? So Jen has a lot of Salesforce experience, technology experience, ranging all over the place, and we're super excited to have her on to help out here on the office hours. So Jen, if you just want to say hi.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so with that being said, we'll go ahead and open up the floor here and get things going. So who wants to bat lead off here with a question? Like I said, don't be shy. Otherwise, we'll just have Jen start sharing some good stuff.
No questions. I know the folks on this group. This is not a shy group.
So I also have the success group up in case there were any questions to at least talk about or get Jen's perspective on. Let's see, a survey. Jared advertising this.
Stuart says, I just want to hear the cool stuff Jen has been working on.
That's cool in and of itself. So yeah.
Yeah, Jen, what have you been up to lately? What are the things you've been working on?
So I've been doing quite a lot of migrations to Lightning. So getting a lot of folks onto the Lightning platform, particularly, the kind of sales and marketing type folks, and getting people really, really excited. One of the funny things that we found is that a lot of the groups that have been resistant to going to Lightning are similar groups that have also not embraced Salesforce One historically. And they actually have quite a lot of users who are out in the field in front of customers, whether they are, folks, generally, again, it would be account executives, account managers, folks who are not only out selling to customers, but who are also supporting customers face-to-face. And they've been really resistant to the Salesforce One usage. And so what we found is if we have them take a step back, go ahead and do the migration to Lightning, and then get people up and running on Salesforce One, we're finding that there's a lot more adoption on both sides because the platforms now match visually. The user experience is much more similar between Lightning and Salesforce One than the user experience between Classic and Salesforce One. So we're getting a lot more adoption. People are really loving all of the new integrations into Salesforce One. They're starting to use things like the Today app and being able to do Chatter not only for posting messages but for taking pictures and sending them back. So, they've enabled their phones to allow Salesforce One to access their photos. And then especially thinking about guys and gals, that are going into like manufacturing areas or something of that nature where you need a visual to help explain what the problem is or what the need is. And so they're able to take pictures and throw it right into Chatter from their phones and have it, all be a very seamless experience. So that's been really cool. So that's one of the things we've been doing. One of the other things we've been doing is more extension of the platform. I'm a big old platform nerd, so anytime that I can take Salesforce and extend the platform to have, broader user experience, I enjoy that. So we've been working with, we actually have a custom grid app that we produce at Configuro, and so we've been doing some work with that with folks that have really high volume of data, getting them to be able to pull through the data in a quicker fashion and do their processing more seamlessly. So it's been exciting.
So I want to go back to the Lightning conversation because that prompted something that Mark Ross and I were actually talking about in the office this morning. He found a link, and I'm showing it on the screen, assuming Ready Talk is playing nicely. Previously I had talked about, or I had found a a page that was the Lightning roadmap, and they went from version to version of what was going to be available in Lightning. It feels like they have not updated that because it talks about last winter and then this spring and now summer, and then only looks at forward, like next version and beyond. So I'm thinking they're not going to update that. But what Mark found and sent over to me this morning is the gaps between Lightning Experience and Salesforce Classic for people to start clicking through, because it feels like, and I'm sure you're hearing this, the conversations around why we can't go to Lightning are diminishing. Would you say
they
that,
are?
That's your
I
experience?
I really do believe that, and I've been putting tweets and success message posts out sending love to the Lightning team, because I think that's very true. The gaps really are coming down quite a bit. There are still some things that that you can't do. There are some things that we're never going to be able to do in Lightning, right? All of our old school button hacks and URL hacks and stuff like that, it just doesn't work. But trade-offs are quite a lot. I'm finding quite a lot of our ideas on the Idea Exchange that are old ideas that have been lingering around for a long time are getting resolved in Lightning. And things like being able to customize the account hierarchy view and really tailor that to specific businesses and the way that their accounts are represented hierarchically is really coming along and getting a lot cleaner. So yeah, no, I agree. I think the gaps are coming down quite a bit. I've actually had a lot of fun too on playing around with the Kanban views and the list views for like accounts and leads and opportunities and cases. And also in, being able to do things like when I create my reports very easily on the fly, being able to add charts and being able to filter and group. And, to me, the experience is coming along much nicer and giving me a lot more of the advanced functionality that we've been asking for.
Gotcha. Well, and so we have a question from Raj going deep into some functionality here. How does Lightning work with forecasting and quotas?
That's actually a good question. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I don't know. We'd have to go and take a look there.
I'm going to put that on the list here to be researched and posted.
Yep.
Forecasting and quota.
Good question. And I think too, just my gut expectation, I would say that as Lightning moves along, this is just my expectation. I don't know this to be true, but I suspect that, the Lightning development would focus more heavily on advancing the most recent version, which is collaborative forecasting, versus anything else. That's my hunch. Classic forecasting and customizable forecasting are pretty old features. I would be very surprised if those came along with Lightning, but I have no actual knowledge of that. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, according to Help and Training, collaborative forecasts is available within Lightning Experience. I think there's some things around quotas that aren't exactly there in Lightning just yet, but collaborative forecasting is there.
Okay.
So Raj also added asking about territory management being available in Lightning, and then Stu has some questions after that. But territory management first. Do we know if that's available in Lightning yet?
I am looking right now because I don't see why Lightning wouldn't support territory management. But I am looking to see.
Yeah, so I'm reading. I'm
All
on
right. So
that same help article.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what it says is it says that original territory management appears within the Lightning Experience setup tree, so you can enable, configure everything from there. But territory information, assignments, reports, all are available in Classic only.
Yep.
It does say enterprise
yeah.
territory management.
I'm guessing that's because it's more Visualforce page based, right?
Yep.
And so those items may not have been converted to Lightning components yet, is my guess.
And so Raj has also added to the chat, currently in Classic, if you select a list view, it will save, and once you back and you can see the same list view selected on object. Why is this not working in Lex?
He is very correct. He is very correct.
Chances are,
and there's an idea out there that we can vote and promote. The problem is in Lightning, all tabs revert, when you click on the tab, they all revert back to the recently viewed list view. And that is a pain point. There is an idea out there on that.
Jen, if you possibly know where
Yep.
to get it, if you can send us the link at some point, and
Yep.
we'll get it posted out there. So I'm picturing Stu sitting at the front of the classroom with his hand just, ooh, 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 pick me. His hand's been raised the whole time. So Stu, unmute, and what are your questions, good sir?
Yes. Hello, Jen.
Hi, darling. How are you?
Good to hear your voice again.
Good to hear you too.
My questions, and probably Dale knows this because he's heard this on several calls. I'm a broken record when it comes to Lightning, and it has less to do with the functionality. I think that, as you discussed, functionality is getting there, and so there are fewer reasons to say no to moving. My question is for all the solo admins out there like myself who we know what Lightning is and what it takes to move to Lightning, but our users do not and haven't been part of the whole marketing campaign to understand why would they want to ask for us to move to Lightning. And so then it becomes a project that IT is perceived that IT is pushing down the user's neck of, hey, we're going to change the entire user interface of Salesforce. Here we go. And I don't want it to be like that. And so I'm wondering, how do you market, as an admin, how do you market this to users in a way that makes them think that they're asking for it? And B, how do you best partner with those users to make it feel like you're not ripping the Band-Aid off, that actually there is going to be some fun to this process and it's not going to be all just a bunch of work. So my fear, uncertainty, doubt isn't about the product itself, more about the process of going from Classic to Lightning. And I sense that fear with other solo admins out there that don't have support of a team to help them.
Yep. So the nice thing about the migration to Lightning is that you can isolate it to individual users. So you can actually, identify certain users to go to Lightning and have them pilot it first. And, generally when I do something like this, I usually try to target 3 different types of users, like grab 1 or 2 from each group. One is going to be your champions, right? The people that always love everything about Salesforce and they're so excited and they're going to go ahead and do it. One is new employees, because if you get a new employee started out on the Lightning experience, they don't know any different.
I like that. Okay.
Right? And the third one is those people that just hate using Salesforce no matter what. Right? But what I find with Lightning is that I have a lot more opportunity to present to my users things that make their job and their tasks a lot faster. So quick actions and chatter-based functionality, whether it's chatter tasks, chatter posting, chatter updates of status fields and things like that. So you can add a lot more of that functionality to them to say, hey, look, you don't have to go and scroll all over the place. Tell me the 3 fields that you always update, right? And I'm going to give you chatter actions, and you just hang here on the chatter section and make your updates and go, and they really start to buy into it.
So I have a question, speaking as both now a consultant, but as a fellow customer who could have dipped my toe in this, but we're getting ready to engage a client who has multiple Salesforce orgs that they want consolidated into one, and they want Lightning right out of the gate on the surviving org. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Migrate the surviving org to Lightning and then consolidate, or consolidate and then go to Lightning?
It's a good question.
Because one of the concerns the client.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on what's on the 2 different orgs, right? So particularly if the legacy org has a lot of URL hacks to it and a lot of Visualforce overrides and, things that make it very atypical even for Classic anyway, you could run into some challenges trying to get that migrated to Lightning on the legacy org. That could be a real challenge.
That's one of the things that we're batting around internally from a proposal standpoint, because the client is very excited. They want Lightning right now, heck, Lightning yesterday. But our fear is once we start getting into the nitty-gritty, all the actual functional requirements and technical requirements, okay, great, you can have Lightning. Oh, wait, we got to revert you back because you want opportunity splits, or there's a lot of Visualforce, or the overrides, and definitely the button hacks. So we're struggling. We can argue for and against it, and didn't know if there were other heads that have had this same conversation. Because again, as a customer, before I jumped into consulting, my company had 3 orgs that I lobbied heavily to get consolidated into 2, if not 1, and the topic of Lightning was being batted around. And both can be pretty significant undertakings, but they take time and the right path. But if you have the excitement to switch to Lightning, you kind of want to.
And I think it's a trade-off too, right? Are some of the customizations or the functionality that they have in place that is not yet Lightning ready, what is the root of that functionality, and B, is there a different way to handle it, right? If there are things that are, can we use something like Process Builder or Flow to manage what they're trying to do if that isn't compatible with Lightning in the current system?
Gotcha.
I think that's, those are conversations that we have to have. Right? Because I don't know about you guys, but in my experience, I find a lot of processes that are in place that are maybe in place because of older functionality that if we look at it today, we can say, oh, you don't really have to do that anymore. We can go back in and re-engineer this for new SFA or new feature functionality.
So Raj has put another question in the chat. I've just started Visual Workflow from Trailhead. Do you suggest any other site to learn it?
Go ahead.
I was going to say find a blog written by either Brian Kwong, Mark Ross, or Rakesh Gupta, and you're going to be beyond set. Those guys live and breathe Flow on a minute-by-minute basis. I mean, having conversations with Mark, getting to work with him, like he manages to put the word flow into every single sentence. That's how much he loves it. But when any of those three talk about it, it is broken down to a very simple level that allows anybody to learn and build upon.
No,
but then
I
there's
agree. And me. I've got some blogs on it too.
Awesome.
And actually, John Stevens has quite a lot out there. Doug Ayers, and Doug Ayers actually did this really cool thing. Let me find you the GitHub link. But Doug Ayers is another Salesforce MVP. He actually created this really cool GitHub project that you can install into Salesforce. And what it allows you to do is to make Process Builder a schedulable function. So you know how, like, if we do Process Builder with flows, you might have something where the Process Builder Spark is any time that an account's address is changed, go through and domino down the address from the account to all the related contacts, right? But there are times when you have what would be a process builder and a flow, but you need it to be scheduled. So you need it to go and perform some update, but only do it on the last day of the month, or only do it on every Friday at 10 o'clock at night. Well, what we all have to do historically is to have a developer write a trigger and then schedule that trigger. What Doug did is he actually took that concept of schedulable Apex triggers and he put it into he linked it into a process builder function, so that you can actually make your process builders and flows schedulable.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so what I was going to also say, like, those are the kinds of things that you definitely can't learn from something like Trailhead. Like, Trailhead's awesome for learning the basic concept of everything, but Flow, you're like right out of the gate going with a custom use case. So that's great. You can learn what the different elements and actions are, but really you need to kind of tap into the people of the community who have told some stories about their experiences with it to really learn the power and the oomph of what you can do with something like Flow and then Process Builder. Just found 2 books on Flow. Yeah, I mean, probably written by one of the people that we've listed here.
Probably by Rakesh.
Probably by Rakesh. I think he is actually a published author on the declarative automation tool. So Jen just sent the link on GitHub, so I will get that shared here. And then Stu posted out there the Automation Hour, which I don't know if it's every Friday or if they're on kind of similar cadence as us, but the Automation Hour is a webinar, a live webinar, right after office hours, actually. So it might be first and third Friday as well, but at 2 o'clock Central, free Eastern. So they have a success group that we'll go ahead and share out in the MVP office hours group after this. And then Jen, if you want to also send us a link to your blog, we can post that too.
Yeah. And what I would say too with regard to Process Builder, so Process Builder is very, very powerful. Process Builder and Flow, both of them together, are very, very powerful, and they are they have come a long way as far as Salesforce going through and doing bulkification with them. But you still have to be very thoughtful when you go to do your process builders and think about Salesforce order of operations, right? Think about what fires first as far as triggers and process builders and workflow rules and validation rules and all of that. But you also have to think about Salesforce governor limits, because even though process builders and flows are declarative, they still count as SOQL queries, and there are limits to how many queries we can run at one time. So if you want to do, for example, we had a cool example during the Flow pilot a couple of years ago, where it was anytime that a user becomes deactivated, transfer all of their accounts, contacts, and opportunities to their manager automatically, right? It's a really cool setup. When I send the blog post, I've got a blog post about doing that. And it's a cool concept. But when you get into an org that has hundreds of thousands of accounts and contacts, it's not going to work, because, that it wouldn't even work with the trigger. It's just too many records to process in a single setting. At least with a trigger, you could batch your processing so that it's smaller chunks that are going. But Process Builder and Flow don't allow you to segment into batches. So when you read like some of Rakesh and Brian and John Stevens' blogs, they actually talk about ways that you can use loops and counters in your flows to batch, to kind of simulate that batch concept so that you're processing smaller volume and you're not hitting governor limits.
So one of the things that I've run into, along with considering Process Builder versus some other tools, is I'm working with a client right now who's actually asking me to go into all 82 of her process builders.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. And has asked, like, the crux of the project is to rename and come up with a standardized naming convention, but also to come up with recommendations. And one of the things that actually, when Process Builder first came out, that I kind of scratched my head on is, this is a safe place where we can, talk about the Salesforce marketing side of things, but it was, go put everything in Process Builder, go put it in Process Builder. Well, hold on. You might be going down a bad path here, because some of the recommendations I'm going to propose to this client is, if opportunity field A gets updated to something, you want to update opportunity field B with something else, it's a workflow and a field update. You don't have to go into Process Builder and gum up the works. Now, I have heard one person say, well, actually, Salesforce is advocating for that because workflow is going to go away. Has anybody else heard that? Because I would be shocked if workflow ever actually went away, but I'm sometimes behind the curve, so maybe I'm wrong. Anybody know anything on that?
I have never heard that.
Okay.
I have not. I'm with you. I would be very surprised, because you're right. There is a time and a place for Process Builder, and there's a time and a place for workflow rules. And Salesforce actually has a whole help document about that kind of says, like, here's when it's most appropriate to use a workflow. Here's when it's most appropriate to use a flow. Here's when it's most appropriate to use a trigger, right? And I think that would be, yeah.
I knew I wasn't going crazy, because Salesforce has always preached, like, they've built everything on try as simple as you possibly can, and then work out from there. Get more complex if you have to, but not if you want to. So I wanted to validate that I'm not going crazy with my approach of recommending that if field A is X, update field B to Y on the same object, that it's just workflow. So, but I mean, again, like a lot of Process Builder is a big thing. You can do a lot of things on it. You can do some powerful things like fire off flows automatically, but you're right. There's a time and a place.
Yep, for sure.
Raj did throw out not sure because outbound messages is not currently supported by Process Builder. That's true. Outbound messages you can only do from workflow.
Yep. Well, and you run into interesting things too. So like, for example, now that we have this nifty functionality on chatter posts that you can do rich text chatter posts, right, which I love. I love being able to bold things and underline them and put bullets in and stuff. If you use Process Builder to create chatter posts, you only get plain text. You do not have a rich text editor in the chatter post. So if you want to leverage Process Builder opposed to a trigger and have rich text formatted chatter, you're going to run into an issue. I even tried going the route of saying, okay, I'm just going to use the Process Builder as the spark, but I'm going to go into a flow from my Process Builder, and in the flow I can do some more rich text editing. The rich text does not come through in the chatter post even when I have it rich text formatted on Flow. So there are some things when they add functionality, it's like, well, it's great you've given us this, but we can't do everything the way that we could if we did it with a trigger.
Well, so I don't know if this is a question or a statement, but Raj put in the chat window, Process Builder with flow and text template can be used to post rich text, but still learning. So I don't know if that's a question as a solution or if that is a solution, but it's additional development because you're having to create the flow, you're having to create the Process Builder, you're throwing more things in there to accomplish something that perhaps could be done in a simpler fashion.
Exactly. Here's that, let's see. Here's the help article on which tool do I use for SFA. Let me send that. So I go to this quite a lot with my customers and even with some of my internal users where I'm like, okay, let's step back and let's think about, what is most appropriate for this scenario. Is it a workflow role? Is it a process builder? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is about to be bookmark number 2 or 1 for me.
Right.
When it comes to talking to people.
Very helpful.
Oh, good. Yes.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep.
And one, speaking of Process Builder, I heard an interesting thing from a client I was talking to the other day, and they have an existing org, a full team, and they've been using it for a while. From the Salesforce perspective, they have an interesting rule that I came across that I haven't heard many customers adopt, but it's they have a rule of one Process Builder process per object. They are pretty strict on we're not adding multiples, which I thought was great, right? I mean, because if you look at the save behavior for Process Builders, the more you add, right, to one object, the slower that save time is going to be. So whatever you can do to minimize the amount you have on an object is definitely going to help you out.
Well,
it is. Go ahead, Dale.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I agree with that philosophy, except that there are some times where you just have to break the process builder apart, because when you go into the process builder, you've got your different nodes to evaluate, but as the evaluation occurs, it occurs from top down. And so you can have issues like I always set my nodes so that the thing that is the most likely to occur is the topmost node, right? Generally, 80-20 rule, we're hoping that this is going to happen. And then I work my way down on the nodes to the possible exceptions. The problem is that sometimes there is some overlapping hierarchy to those exceptions. And so, if you were doing a process builder, you would have, or if you were writing a flow from scratch, you would have kind of multiple decision trees and multiple forks. Right now, process builder still, even though it allows you to chain together two nodes, it doesn't allow you to do the multiple forks. So if you think about a flow, I might have my starting point at the top. I go through, I do a lookup of either a record or a collection of records. Then I might loop through them and do a forked decision in the loop. Then when I keep going through, I may do a second decision that forks off to a third decision on one, so you get a lot of branching. The branching is not as easy to do in Process Builder.
Right. It's flat. It assumes a relatively simple, if not clean and best practiced, that's even a word, org, because no, you can't make that many decisions. You can't really go off of permutations of decisions. I mean, the reality of Salesforce orgs, the 80-20 of it is you have wide schemas. You have people adding extra checkboxes and unnecessary pick lists and random text fields and but then those fields get incorporated into the process because maybe when those fields were developed, somebody didn't really scrutinize the best practice of implementing it, or there was a standard piece of functionality they didn't know they could take advantage of. And Process Builder it's powerful, but in some cases it is too simple, because then being able to fire off a flow, or even if it's not a flow, even if you're doing something to a batch of related records or a parent record or whatever, how many orgs out there are actually documented well enough that when you start doing something on other objects, the person who built that is going to remember that that's going to happen, so that, oh, now this process builder just fired, and this process builder just fired. Oh, crap, every process builder just fired off because of how I set this thing to happen.
Right.
So process builder assumes a lot.
Right. No, I agree. It definitely does. And to that point too, I have to say, I have to give big credit to the Process Builder team. Their error logs have gotten much, much better. Like now I can actually find an error in the error log, and when I get the error message off of a Process Builder or flow, it'll actually say something like, failed because validation rule XYZ doesn't match, this record fails this validation rule. And so I can actually trace down the error because I couldn't do that before. So it definitely has gotten much more friendly.
So what I love is we just got in the chat, Raj has left to go join Automation Hour. So didn't know if you knew that was already a thing, but that's a phenomenal segue with everything that we've been talking about here.
All right. So I'm curious, Can we switch topics?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the special guest. Go for it.
So I'm curious if anybody on the call has started to dive into Wave.
I see 0 hands raised.
No hands raised. Oh my gosh. So Salesforce has done a really good job of listening to the success community about the cost. Okay, so I highly recommend if your organization is wanting more advanced reporting, more power behind your reporting, more of a kind of, everybody keeps going to the App Exchange apps, the Tableaus and all that, and those are good. They're fine. We love those people, but if you can get it native, Salesforce has brought the price way down. And so I highly recommend reaching out to your account executive and asking them what the current pricing is for Wave, for your organization and your volume of users. I am having so much fun doing Wave implementations because now we can do all kinds of really, really cool charts with all kinds of multi-level grouping and sorting of the data because, in native Salesforce reports, you still really only get basically one sort off of your data, excluding the fact that you can sort multiple groups, but within the group at the field level, you can't really do multi-column sorting. You can do all this really powerful comparison and make these beautiful, beautiful dashboards that can then be emailed to people, can be saved as PDFs, can be put into Chatter, and I am just thoroughly enjoying Wave. Plus, they've added some of the additional summary functions that we've been dying for in regular reports, like median. A lot of people want to know the median of certain values, and you can't do that in Salesforce today in the regular reports. So I am jazzed about Wave.
Well, cost has been one of those big things.
You do have to pay for Wave. I see Stuart's email. As an organization, you do have to pay for it, but I am talking like huge discounts on the pricing. I think when it originally came out, it was something like $175,000 a year for an organization.
I mean, the thing that I heard was take however much you paid for your Salesforce licenses, and you're going to pay that much for Wave as well.
Yeah, no, it is way down. I don't want to even throw out the numbers that we saw at year end because I don't want any Salesforce AEs coming after me, but I'm telling you, it is way down. And from a learning perspective, right, if you go into Trailhead and go into the Trailhead modules for Wave, there's a special link just on those modules to get a developer org with Wave already enabled in it and to have Wave sample data and stuff. It is slick, slick, slick. Yeah, I've been tweeting a lot of love to the Wave folks too. So I think if you go into that first one, the setup Wave apps, and if not, I'll find the link, but let's see. Yep, let me find the link because it's so nice. It's really pretty.
Circling back to the cost question, what about for nonprofits? Are there any deeper discounts for them, or is it the same price across the board?
I believe Please don't anybody quote me on this and say Jen Nelson
Safe harbor.
But yeah, safe harbor. Safe harbor. Hello, Steve Moe. We miss you. But I believe that there is discount available for the nonprofits, although I don't recall what the exact is. Definitely there is an interest there in getting, WAVE available for the nonprofit market. So, yep. Let's see. Come on, tell me how to get my Wave app. Yep, I'll find it and we'll get it posted out to everybody, but highly recommend. Oh.
Nice.
Oh, good. I was afraid I lost everybody.
No, you're good. We've got about 3 minutes left, so I think now's probably a good time to go ahead and start wrapping things up. So, Jen, thank you so much for joining and sharing all that knowledge with us. Great insight and conversation around Process Builder, and I love the throw out for Wave there as well. So appreciate your time and just your contributions to the community.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're we've got our next call coming up on June 2nd, and our special guest is an MVP, Jocelyn, who's got a lot of Salesforce experience and co-owners of OpMentors, as you can see there, which is a consulting firm. So we're looking forward to having Jocelyn on. She can give us a lot of her knowledge, so definitely don't want to miss that one. We'll post the resources from this one as well as a recording to the community group. You'll see the recording posted out to Twitter as well. So we thank you all for joining us, and until June 2nd, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you then.
Jared, I just posted in the chat the link to get a dev.org for Wave.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I am grabbing that now, and we'll put it in the resources. And all these will be posted out probably sometime this weekend because there's a lot, but these will all be in the MVP Office Hours group.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Great afternoon.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See y'all.